Hi, everybody, and welcome to the 2020 Dominican College Research Series on sensory health. Today, we're talking with three research students who are going to tell us about five research students who are going to be telling us about their piece of a larger project that we worked on for the past year regarding sensory processing and sensory health across the lifespan and in different areas of our lives, including things such as resilience, addiction, criminality, physical health, and today's topic, relationships. So I am Dr. Catherine Cavaliere. I am joined by my co-host, Professor Damiao. We are the research instructors at Dominican College. And we have research students with us today, Magdalena Yastian, Esther Gallo, Sarah Camacho, and Maria Perullo. Welcome, everybody. So let's start off by asking you, tell us about your study. Tell us about what you investigated. What was your project?
So our project aimed to explore the impact of sensory processing on the quality of relationships across the lifespan.
And can you tell us about, how you went about searching that? That's a pretty large, those are two, kind of broad topics. How did you go about searching this?
So in our review, we used a combination of search terms. So we used one term was related to sensory processing, and then a second term was related to relationships, and then a third term was related to age. So in our first term of sensory processing, we use different terms like sensory processing, sensory sensitivity, sensory seeker, sensory loss, in our search. And then the second theme that we use, the terms that we use were related to relationships, and those included participation, social participation, parent, caregiver, sibling, brother, teacher. And then our last theme was related to age. So some of those terms included childhood, adolescence, elderly, youth, teenager. So we combined all of those terms together to yield the articles that we included in our narrative review.
And how many articles did you end up including in your narrative review?
30 articles.
Would you say that the articles were there more articles in, regarding one aspect than there were regarding another aspect? For instance, was there more information that you found regarding children and relationships versus adults and relationships, or sensory processing versus self-regulation? What was found, and where were there more or less?
So we found that most articles talked about sensory processing disorder in children. We had a lot of luck learning about that age gap in school-age children. We found a few articles about infants and their relationships with new mothers. However, we struggled quite a bit with finding articles about adolescents and about elderly people. In fact, we were not able to locate a single article that talked about sensory processing in the elderly population. Therefore, we did turn it around a little bit, and we focused instead on sensory loss. We did have another challenge during our search process. I just wanted to add to Sarah's. We found a lot of articles that talked about temperament, self-regulation, hyper and hyposensitivity, highly sensitive people, by Aaron and Aaron's theory. And we had to make a decision whether we should include those terms or not, and if yes, then how to tie them to sensory processing theory. And we all found that to be quite a big challenge.
Magda, and I think that speaks to one of the the debates that are out there right now regarding sensory processing, and that's terminology, right? And that this concept of sensory processing, even so across disciplines, is talked about in a very different way, right? Psychologists use different terms than occupational therapists use, than than physicians use, right? So we're all using different terminology. And even within our field, right, we're using different terminology. Sensory processing, self-regulation, sensory modulation, sensory regulation. I mean, it goes on and on and on. And so I think, you encountered that, firsthand.
Right. We were saying also for like children, it was more the sensory processing. That's how they described it. For adolescents, it was more self-regulation. It was more termed. And then for, like we were saying, the elderly population, it was more focused on sensory loss and how that affects communication.
Very interesting. So tell us about what you found. What did you find? What did the articles and the information that you found tell you about the relationship between sensory processing and forming and maintaining relationships across the lifespan?
So overall, we found that sensory seeking and sensory sensitivity had the most significant impact on relationships, and that was for all types. With sensory seeking having actually secure and healthy attachments, especially compared to the others, and that was ideal because it led to meaningful relationships. Whereas sensory sensitivity led to a lot of miscommunication between needs of different individuals, and that led to a lot of difficulty developing and maintaining relationships. So this was seen in one article we had of Benavi, Almagor, and Engel Jaeger that looked at sensory processing disorder in particular, which really highlighted how many difficulties there were in interpersonal relationships, which we think of relationships as a very narrow term, but really that was found across work, family, therapeutic relationships, and just general social interactions. And furthermore, this mismatch between sensory needs was very highlighted when we started looking at infants and children, especially when talking about their parents. So Brangeporn and Whitcomb, two separate articles, actually found that highly sensitive parents and highly sensitive children actually did not mesh well together, and it had far-reaching consequences for both the parents and the children in terms of being able to have healthy relationships. And this could even occur throughout the child's lifespan for not forming healthy relationships, which was also something discovered when looking at infancy. It starts well in the beginning of life. So articles like Baranek and McGeorge really talked about how sensory avoidant and sensory sensitive the infants would react very poorly to parents who weren't meeting their sensory needs. So this mismatched parental input with the children and the infants showed that it led to a poorer quality of relationships. And infants with low registration and hypo responsiveness, so less responsiveness, were really having difficulty responding to social cues even. When we started talking about adaptive mechanisms, that really was seen with sensory seeking, which Jerome and Liss pointed out. And this was seeking emotional support and positive interpretations. So these individuals actually had healthier relationships because they were able to better adopt positive coping strategies and seek this emotional support. And it ended up showing that they had lower anxiety regarding the attachments in their relationships.
Wow, this is some really important information that you found. I mean, that can inform practice in like multiple ways, right? Can you give us your take on how this can inform practice and what we can take away from this as clinicians?
Okay, so we looked at how practice can be influenced in 3 different ways. How we can promote and make sensory processing influence on relationships, how we can make the public more aware of it. We looked at prevention, what we can do in order to prevent any problems and issues arising from lack of understanding of sensory processing and its influence on relationships. And we looked at how we can then intervene as occupational therapists. So as far as promotion, we thought starting programs to educate the population on the importance of sensory awareness would definitely make a difference, would make an impact. For example, for parents, for families, for within play groups for parents and for children, for business corporations, for professional relationships within the business, in the business. So we thought of conducting various workshops and trainings. Oh, and also for romantic partners, let's not forget about that. Very often there is a misunderstanding and people, partners don't understand where it's coming from. And it might be just as simple as a mismatched sensory pattern that can be answered through avoiding or receiving appropriate sensory input. So that kind of ties in with the prevention part, where by leading or conducting various workshops for future couples or for future mothers, we can inform them that that sort of thing can happen and prevent further or unnecessary problems within the relationship, as Maria has described. And finally, for intervention, we thought of social skills training, especially for children with sensory processing disorder. We thought of marriage counseling, for counseling or awareness within the work environment, and of course for children as far as sensory therapy, which is already partially addressed through sensory intervention, but we may now broaden it into relationship.
This is great. You know, this concept of mismatched sensory systems seems fascinating to me, especially when I think about like why some kids get along with other kids and those dynamics, and even adults and parent-child relationships. And it's interesting because one of the studies we're conducting this year is on autism, individuals with autism spectrum disorder, and relationships with their parents. And one of the studies we looked at had inconclusive findings about the relationships between parents and children. But it seems like what's missing in that research is this link, the sensory processing aspect of it. Like maybe that's where that real mismatch is happening between children with autism and their parents in terms of relationships. So that just as an aside. But so tell us what this research project and process was like for you as new researchers, students taking on this quite complex research study. It wasn't a simple project with simple methodology. You needed to really go out there and figure out how to operationally define these terms and how to conduct and put together this entire large concept. What was this like for you?
Well, for us, we learned that it required a lot of patience, and thoroughness to find information that was like related and relevant to our topic. Also, with our research, we learned that the information that we found wasn't always necessarily specific to our study, so we would have to extrapolate it and interpret it. And as Kathy had mentioned before, just the different types of terminology that are being used made it difficult to connect the information to our narrative review. And then another thing that we also did learn is that, like, when you think you're researching one topic, it'll take you one place, and then you discover along the way that this may not confirm the hypothesis that you had in mind initially.
That's I think a very good important point to bring up is that, we shouldn't be going out looking for research to fulfill our own agenda. We should be going out looking at this objectively and just seeing what is out there and what does that information point to. But I would still like to hear about everyone else's perception of what it was like taking on this big of a challenge research project.
I think initially it was you go into it being like, okay, we're going to research sensory processing relationships. And I think for me personally, it was just kind of a shock at how little research there is on this topic. You did have to like interpret the articles in, using your own terminology almost with sensory processing and trying to link different thresholds with different terms. That was definitely difficult. And I think, in the future, sensory processing does need to be a focus of research for sure. I think it's vital to society, to OT practice, and yeah.
And there definitely was a feeling of relationships being such a broad topic that it was really difficult to try and find a direction to focus in, because there's all this fantastic research, but not all of it fits well, and really deciding what's important and what's the message we really need to put together, and what information that's good information but didn't fit and you just can't include it all really becomes a difficult thing as a researcher to eliminate findings based on what doesn't fit.
So then let me ask you this. What will you take with you into your clinical practice that you learned in conducting this study? Whether it be clinical information, whether it be something about the research process, what will you take with you into your practice?
Well, definitely appreciation towards researchers and the fact that thanks to them we have evidence-based practice, but also heightened awareness of the validity of sensory processing for relationships, but also for our cohort, as you said, researched other areas, just a generally much heightened awareness of the importance and the validity of sensory processing.
I think people really do underestimate the importance of it. From a society standpoint, it has the potential, like sensory awareness in society has the potential to really decrease relational conflicts in general in the workplace. There's a potential to, create environments that pertain to the sensory needs for the employers, which will then kind of elicit higher quality work relationships and decrease job termination, potentially resulting in overall economic growth. I think it's pretty amazing how, according to research, like actual data, we do see the significant impact sensory processing does have.
Well, I want to congratulate you on doing a terrific job on this, again, big topic. And yeah, I look forward to, to seeing how all of you integrate some of this into your practice. And that's it for us for today. So that is, this is the end of our talk on sensory processing and relationships. Thank you to our students who are here today. Thank you to Professor Damiao for joining. And if you have any questions on anything you heard today regarding sensory processing and relationships, you can feel free to reach out to myself, Catherine, Catherine, .Cavaliere, Cavaliere, at dc.edu, or
you can reach out to me at john.damio@dc.edu. Thank you all for joining us. This concludes this session. Feel free to watch our other sessions, and thank you all. See you next time.